So, as most of you probably know, because I'm assuming most of the people that watch my channel, which isn't a lot, I'm assuming you guys watch anime. Bleach is back. It started, I want to say, a week ago. It is just starting the Thousand Year Blood War arc. And so I've taken this time to start watching Bleach. I'm trying to get all the way through it. I've been watching it for a little under a week, and I'm almost 60 episodes in. And I just want to go over my time having just started Bleach again, because this isn't actually the first time that I started watching Bleach. Now, spoilers ahead, because I will be going over the first 60-ish episodes. I won't be reviewing every single individual episode, but I will be giving my personal opinion on a lot of it. Also, I will probably mess up names. A lot of these names are difficult to remember, and some of them might not get a name and will instead get something like a nickname or just a physical description. Let's just hop in. So, beginning of Bleach. It didn't go exactly how I remembered, because the first time that I watched it, I had watched all the way up to when Ichigo saves Rukia. That is when I stopped watching Bleach the first time, because I thought that I thought that Ichigo's motivations had been really honestly trash. I also thought that was only episode like 30, but I was completely wrong. And in the second run through, it's actually very well done. I think the story is extremely well made. Although I'm not a huge fan of just how easy of a time Ichigo gets his powers. I know he doesn't have an easy time, but like comparatively easy for the hundreds and hundreds of years that these other Soul Reapers dedicate their lives to gaining these abilities. But let's start back at the beginning. So, Ichigo starts off the show. He can see ghosts. He's helping out a ghost as he starts the show, and eventually a hollow ends up to attack one of the ghosts that he was helping out. Then he sees Rukia. Rukia demolishes said hollow. Then later on, another hollow comes to attack Ichigo, and Rukia goes to defend him. And this is the first section that I find weird. The Aikido attacks. Because Aikido gets it kind of gets power crept immediately and becomes not useless, because even where I am now, Byakuya uses Hakudo techniques, and so they aren't useless, but they become a lot. They become very rare very quickly, because right at the beginning she used an Aikido technique to paralyze Ichigo and make him unable to move. And then Ichigo just breaks out of it because he has a very high spiritual pressure. And, when he gets mad, he gets even stronger. Which, I guess maybe that's like a very low level Aikido technique. If that is the case, then, I can't really say anything about it. I'm hoping it's just because it was a low level Aikido technique. Because there's actually a stronger version of that used later on that does work on Ichigo. So, Ichigo breaks out of it, tries to go attack the Hollow, and Rukia steps in to save his life, which nearly kills Rukia. This is another issue. Rukia is stated in the early sections of Bleach to be like an absolute prodigy, like insanely good. All of the lower level Soul Reapers look up to her as like an amazingly strong person. And yet she gets like low key taken out by a honestly weak hollow. Like, it's not like they say this hollow's like insanely strong, or they say that this hollow's taken out multiple Soul Reapers. It's just a hollow that shows up. And so then Ichigo gains Rukia's Soul Reaper abilities, and Rukia is now weak. She accidentally gave him nearly all of her Soul Reaper abilities when she was meaning to only give him around half. So she has to stay in the human world in a Gigai because she is too weak to return back to the Soul Society. I'm gonna skip over a little bit because honestly, although I found the slice of life, episodic adventures of Ichigo and Rukia, it's a little boring to explain to someone. I think it is very well done though. So I'm gonna jump to Ururu, which is a Quincy that shows up in the school. And it turns out that he's been watching Ichigo for a very, very long time. Well, not a very long time, like since Ichigo's become a Soul Reaper. Ururu has been watching his red thread because Soul Reapers have a different spirit thread than everyone else. Most people's spirit threads are white, Soul Reapers are red. So Ururu challenges him to a competition to see who's better between a Soul Reaper and a Quincy. He loses said competition because at this moment, Ichigo becomes a true badass. He's destroying hollows left and right with one swing. Rukia is still completely useless at this point. And then also Chad and what's her name? Chad and Orihime gain their own spiritual abilities. Chad and Orihime are Ichigo's best friends. Chad would risk his goddamn life for Ichigo, and Orihime just really likes Ichigo. She's clearly the person that will probably become Ichigo's love interest. At first, I thought they were going to make it Rukia, which was going to be extremely disappointing, but they're probably going to make it Orihime, which is also disappointing because I don't like Rukia or Orihime, but it's better than nothing. It's better than Rukia. So, Orihime gets an ability. I haven't gone over the abilities, anyone's ability yet. So Ichigo just gets a gigantic sword, and that's pretty much it for right now. And then Orihime has this like hair clip that turns into, I believe, 6 fairies, all of which that have different abilities. I believe 2 of them are 7 fairies. 2 of them I believe are for healing. 2 of them are for defending. No, not 2 of them. I think 4 of them are for defending, and then 1 of them is for attacking. I only remember the one that's for attacking because his name is Tsubaki. And he's like super cool, and they honestly bully Orihime when they first come out. It's hilarious. Chad, on the other hand, he gets an explosion arm. He gets this, like, his left arm, I believe, turns into this, like, super cool, like, sleek design, and when he punches things, his spiritual power literally blows up in his hand. It's honestly super cool. But both of them then forget about their abilities. They don't forget what happened that night, but they forget about their abilities. Also, the reason why Orihime, because originally Orihime could not see spirits, but she eventually develops the ability to see spirits after her dead brother comes back as a hollow and attempts to kill her. And nearly succeeds, honestly. So then later on down the line, Ichigo and Quincy are starting to finish off their match because the way that they decided to battle, the way that Ururu decided to battle, because Ichigo did not agree to this, was that he was going to use a bait to summon a lot of hollows to their location. And way more than he expected had actually showed up, and eventually, I believe it's called a Mont Grande. A Mont Grande shows up, and it's made up, I forget if they say like hundreds of hollows or thousands of hollows. And Ichigo's attacks are completely useless on it. Ururu's attacks are completely useless on it until Ururu tells him, like, yo, shoot me with your spiritual pressure as I shoot this bow, and it should be strong enough to defeat it. But Ichigo, being the headstrong man he is, who doesn't even know how to fight, he instead gets angry, puts all of his spiritual pressure into his attack, and kind of uses a Geshuga Tensho. It's not called that at this point because he doesn't even know the name of his sword yet, but that's kind of what he uses. And it completely messes up the Mont Grande. The Mont Grande didn't die, but it did get severely damaged enough to where it went back to, I'm assuming, Queco Mundo. Yes, I do know some spoilers from from after the first 60 episodes of Bleach. I know the names of certain locations like Queco Mundo. I will try my hardest not to mention any of them, but sometimes they do slip out. So after that, Rukia needs to leave because Rukia still is low on spirit pressure. She is in a Gigai that she's not supposed to be in for this long. And these hunters come to go retrieve her. Oh, I did also skip over a section. We have a new person in the cast. His name is Cone. He's a mod spirit, which are these spirits that were specifically designed for combat, but then were immediately decided to be too dangerous. So all of them got murdered, but there are a few that survived the extermination. And Rukia got a handle on one, and they put him into a stuffed bear, and now he is adorable and a cool guy. Just thought I'd mention that. So Rukia is now being taken back to the Soul Society, and the people that show up to take her are Renji, her childhood best friend, and Byakuya, her older step brother, I guess would be, or adopted brother. Adopted brother sounds more right. Because she got adopted by a royal family, that being the Kuchikis, which are the clan that Byakuya is from. Which is why she is Rukia Kuchiki. We do not know her original last name. So, after that, they get taken off to... so Ichigo shows up trying to defend her, and at first he fights Renji, and he, like, after a while starts, like, overpowering Renji to where you think, like, he kind of might win. And then Byakuya steps in and absolutely destroys him. And the only reason why he didn't get murdered right then and there is because Rukia essentially begged Byakuya to just let him die because he was starting to bleed out. So she was just like, he's already going to die. Please don't end him. Let him live these last few seconds. So then Mr. Hattenclaws, which is a friendly ex-Soul Reaper that is helping out Rukia, shows up to save Ichigo, heals him up and whatnot, and then he's like, listen, you just had your Zanpakuto destroyed, you just got completely wrecked Byakuya, you're not even a Soul Reaper anymore. You know, your spiritual pressure is weak at this point. So we have to train you to be strong again. Rukia will be executed because that's the punishment for Rukia's crime, is she's going to be killed. Rukia will be executed in 30 days. We need to bring you back up to speed. We need to give you back your strength. So he's like, we have 10 days to do it. And Ichigo does that. So this is when the advanced version of that Aikido technique I was telling you about comes into play, because Hattenclaws has I don't know the right word, I guess companion that lives with him, and he's like this extremely buff sweetheart, which are my favorite kinds of people, and he uses a Hakudo technique that is pretty much the same as the paralyzing Aikido. The only difference is that it also summons like a leather brace that holds you in the paralyzation, and it actually works on Ichigo until Ichigo summons back his Soul Reaper powers and completely breaks out of it and almost kills Hatton Claus's friend. At this point, a cat shows up, a black cat named Yoroichi, something like that. I might have said that name wrong. I believe it's Yoroichi, and it's this cool black cat who might be insanely powerful, but we don't actually know yet. He decides to train Orihime and Chad because they want to go help Ruki as well. While Ururu, who also got defeated by Renji and Byakuya, I forgot to mention that, he showed up there first and got mollywopped. He decides to train by himself, and we don't know what goes on with his training, but we do see that Orihime and Chad have learned to kind of gain a control over their abilities. They haven't mastered them yet, but they have gained control to be able to use it at all. So then they need to get to the spirit world, and when they go, you see Mr. Hattenclaws tried to step in, and it immediately kicks him back, which is interesting. Now it shows up a little bit of mystery, like, ooh, why is Mr. Hattenclaws not allowed in spirit world? So they get to spirit world. I keep saying Spirit World. I'm stuck on Yu Yu Hakusho. I'm at the Soul Society. So they get to the Soul Society, and they need to get to the Seirete, which is the rich part of the Soul Society. They're stuck in the poor part of Soul Society. But to get there, they have to beat this huge Soul Reaper named Jiranbo. And when they get there, Jiranbo sees Ichigo. He's like, you will be my first opponent, because he was the first one to step up to him. Everyone else tries to step in, but Ichigo's like, no, I have to defeat him. He's like, what do you think that I was doing in that training? Mr. Hattenclaw said the training would take 10 days. I finished the training in 5. What do you think I was doing for those last 5 days? I was fighting for 5 straight days. So he fights Jiranbo, destroys him, and I feel so bad for Jiranbo. He's such a sweetheart. He decides to let him through, but then Byakuya comes and fucks up Jiranbo, who's holding the gate, and Orihime has to heal him using her ability. So they find a different way. First of all, they meet this guy named Ganjo. He's really not that important. But they find him, and then they find his sister through Yoriichi. They find Ganjo's sister through Yoriichi. Ganjo's sister, whose name I don't know, decides to shoot them through a cannon over the Seirete wall, which actually has a spirit membrane that is supposed to destroy anything that goes through it, but because she's an expert of fireworks, don't question it, that she's able to break through it. They get split apart, where Ichigo and Ganju go to one section, Chad and Orihime go to a different section. Not Chad and Orihime. Orihime and Ururu go to a different section. Chad goes to his own section, and then Yoriichi goes to his own section. They go through different fights. Ichigo fights Baldy McBaldhead. Ganjo fights Pretty Boy. Orihime and Ururu don't fight anyone yet. Chad doesn't really fight anyone yet either. And Yoriichi, I don't believe, fights anyone either. So they go making their way, destroying things as they go, trying to get to Rukia. And then eventually Ururu has to fight Jiranbo's brother. I don't remember Jiranbo's brother's name. Jiranbo's brother is a bitch. We do not fuck with Jiranbo's brother. We fuck with Jiranbo. We do not fuck with his brother. They destroy many Soul Reapers on throughout their journey. They almost completely decimate Unit 11 and Unit 12. And then he has to fight Renji again. He fights Renji and he just barely wins at the skin of his teeth as he's gotten significantly stronger. And then he has to go fight Kenpachi. Also, I am skipping a lot. I've skipped a lot that has happened throughout the Soul Society arc because it's not super long, but a lot of things happen in it. So he goes to fight Kenpachi, and as he does that, Chad goes to fight a different captain whose name I cannot remember. And also, so Chad and Ichigo are both fighting captains. Chad is fighting this captain that's like this suave pink cloaked flower looking guy. He loses pretty soundly, like he gets absolutely mollywopped. Even though the captain like commends his power, his speed is not even close to where it needs to be. And Ichigo goes to fight Kenpachi, a Reaper who is so powerful that he never learns the name of his sword. While Ichigo during that training did. His sword's name is Zangetsu. And one thing you need to know about the power system in Bleach is once you learn your sword's name, you get to unlock your Shikai, which is where your sword shows its true form and increases in power significantly. So he fights Kenpachi, loses, he gets wrecked. He does stand a chance at first. It even gets to the point where Kenpachi reveals, takes off his eye patch, which actually drains his spirit energy. He takes it off so that he can use his full spirit energy, and that's when he gets wrecked. But Kenpachi didn't kill him. Instead, he got dragged away. He got dragged away a defeated man. So then he gets dragged by Yoruichi, where Yoruichi reveals themselves to not be a cat, but instead be a black woman, a sexy black woman. Yup. It's the best. And she's naked. My favorite kind of black woman. Anyways, so Yoruichi is there taking care of not dying but extremely damaged Ichigo, who is slowly healing up. Chad gets defeated. Ururu fights a different captain, and he like pulls out his bow, and he at this point breaks the glove that he got because he is wearing the special glove from his training. He breaks it, which gives him an insane amount of power, but after its use, he will no longer be a Quincy. He will lose all of his spirit pressure. So he uses that to demolish the captain. The captain doesn't die because he has a last resort Orochimaru type beat where he turns into goop, and although he can no longer attack at that point, he can also no longer be attacked at that point. And so he runs away. Ururu then walks away extremely damaged because he got poisoned by that captain's Bankai, which is the new thing. Bankai is the truest form of your Zanpakuto. Every Zanpakuto gets a Bankai, except for Kenpachi's, because Kenpachi still doesn't even know his sword's name, so he wouldn't even be able to. He wouldn't even be able to get a, he wouldn't even be able to get a Shikai, let alone a Bankai. So Ururu tries to run away, tries to make his way to Rukia, and as he's on his way there, a different captain shows up and wrecks him in one attack because he was too weak to fight anyways. Orihime gets captured as well by the lieutenant of Kenpachi. By the way, Kenpachi's a good guy. Don't think that he's a bad guy. His whole thing is that he just wants to fight. He doesn't care that these people are intruders. He doesn't care that they want to save Rukia. He just wants to be able to have a really good fight. So Ichigo is now being trained. Everyone else has been captured by the guards. Also, they picked up a fourth division character. I don't remember his name. He's just really good at healing people. Cool guy. Um, and so after Ichigo is like most of the way healed, he decides to fly up. Oh yeah, he takes a wing from Yoriichi that allows him to fly. He flies all the way up to where Byakuya is with Rukia, and gets and is about to get murdered by Byakuya, but Yoriichi knocks him out and runs away with him and tells Byakuya, in 3 days Ichigo will fight you, in 3 days. So at this point they have 10 days before Rukia is supposed to be murdered. And Ichigo now needs to achieve Bankai in 3 days. Because at this point, he wouldn't even be able to survive. He wouldn't even be able to survive Byakuya's Shikai. He might be able to fight for a little while, but he would most likely lose, especially once the Bankai gets taken out. So he has to get his own Bankai. Normally that takes a minimum of 10 years just to activate it, and then another 10 years to truly gain control over it. But luckily, Hatton Claws had actually made a way to summon your Bankai within only 3 days. But it is extremely difficult, and Hatton Claws is the first and only person to have ever actually successfully done it. And if you fail at it, you're most likely gonna die. So to do this, he has to summon Zangetsu into the real world instead of him going into his sword's little universe to speak to him. And then he has to defeat Zangetsu and make Zangetsu kneel to him. He successfully does this. I'm not gonna say how. It takes him about a day at first where they think he can't do it, and then in the middle of the second day, first of all, Renji shows up and decides to train with him because Renji has switched sides to the good guy's side. There's also two different captains that are planning an assault to stop Rukia from being murdered. But there's also this whole other thing with Aizen. Aizen is dead. I don't know. It's not important. Well, it is important, but too many things are going on. We're skipping it. So, as Ichigo's in his second day of training, Yoriichi is like, I don't think he's going to be able to do this in 3 days. And then it turns out that Rukia's execution is being done even sooner. Instead of being done in, I guess, 7 days from then, it will be done tomorrow. Meaning Ichigo doesn't have 3 days, he has about 2.5. So we go through the whole thing, Renji learns Bankai and tries to stop Byakuya. Byakuya's like, get out of here, kid, and kills him. Well, nearly kills him. But he gets saved, obviously, by the little wimp kid that I was telling you about that's good at healing. And Rukia's murder, or execution, continues. It's about to happen, but who shows up? The main man, Ichigo Kurosaki, who literally blocks, with one hand behind his back, blocks the Sokyoku, which is a Zanpakuto that has the strength of 1,000 Zanpakuto that is being used to murder Rukia, and literally takes the form of a giant phoenix. Ichigo blocks that in only his Shikai state with one hand and saves Rukia. Then, as he's blocking it, the two other captains come in to break the seal and destroy the Sokyoku, while Ichigo is like holding it back. Then Rukia goes to run away. Those two captains get pursued by Yamamoto, the current strongest captain, I believe. and I think also the oldest captain. And then Ichigo is now fighting Byakuya. That is where I am. I cannot tell you anything further. Now let me give you my opinions on this wild, wild ride. So, beginning of the series is very fun. It's slow, but not in a bad way. It's slow in the way that a slice of life anime is, which is kind of what it feels like. It feels like an episodic slice of life, but with a running theme. That being that Ichigo's getting stronger by defeating Hollows. And then eventually, Rukia gets captured and brought to the Soul Society. At this point, things ramp up significantly and get amazing. It's fast paced. It's a lot of work. There's so much going on and so much spiritual pressure. Just the word spiritual pressure being used a lot. And it just keeps getting crazier and crazier and crazier. I'm extremely excited to see where this goes because there are currently 360 something episodes of Bleach, and I'm only at episode 60 something. So, color me excited. That's all I have for you guys today. I'm gonna go use the bathroom.